are now live with Lifin with Keish and Nesh, and I'm Keish.
And I'm Nesh, and welcome to our first episode of Lifin with Keish and Nesh podcast.
Yay! We finally got here.
Yeah.
So what we're gonna do right now, we're gonna check in with our energy. Well, first and foremost, before we do that, Nesh, okay? We're gonna set this record straight. Okay. So so basically our podcast is for moms, wives, and everyone else, who potentially wants to be a wife or a husband or whatever, have kids,
don't have kids.
Yeah, who don't have kids. Yeah, it's going to help you make your decisions. Like, I'm kidding. But but not for real. Like, we just come in here, keeping it 100, a buck or two, and we just ask for respect. No negativity. We're going to bring positivity. Some things we're going to talk about that's going on in the world. And everybody got different opinions, okay? And I know it's a lot of things out there, but if you can't say it to our face, you ain't gonna be saying it at all. So be respectful, okay?
Keep it cute.
Because we're not gonna, and keep it cute. Because we can just block you, okay? We just bow. Throwing bulls out here in these streets. Nah, but don't let this pretty face fool you, okay? Because
that part.
But on the real, so you can contact us on our website or our emails, if you have any questions, concerns, or whatever you want to pick a topic. We're going to have an Asking Keish and Asking Nesh section. After the episode, we're going to incorporate that in there for the questions. And you can hit us up at lifinwithkeish@outlook.com.
Or lifinwithkeishandnesh@gmail.com.
We also have our YouTube channel coming out where y'all can again see us. We have Instagram, Facebook. So yeah, you can just hit us up on there.
Yep. All platforms. I think we got Twitter too.
So yes, we do got Twitter.
So yep, all platforms. Hit us up with your questions. You can be anonymous if you want, or if you want your name out there with your question, that's fine too. It's up to you.
Yeah, and make sure y'all subscribe on our YouTube channel so we can blow up. No, just kidding, but for real. Not so we can blow up, but like for real, if you really, like our episodes and stuff like that. And again, you can hit us up on there just to ask us anything, but just please be respectful. Because we're not here to, make drama or anything. We just here as two Black women coming together, okay? Especially with our Black community, we gotta stick together. Okay.
Exactly.
And be positive and show y'all that positivity in us.
It does exist. It does exist.
It exists. Okay. So now we're going to switch it over to talk about our first episode because this is what we're here for after we got all that out the way. So we just want to check in with our energy. So my energy right now is high. I'm feeling good about myself. I'm feeling good about this episode. It's just high. It's just, I'm on cloud 9 right now. Okay. How you feeling over there, Nesh?
I would say the same. My energy is high too because I'm just happy that we finally getting this first episode off the ground. The first of many episodes to come. But I'm just excited that to go on this venture with you.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. And our names rhyming together, so it's just Lifin with us. So now we're going to talk about how we met. So first of all, let's bring it together, okay? Because it's our first episode. We want to introduce how we met. So you know what? I'm gonna let you take it over, Nesh, this time.
Okay, so look how we met. Basically, I was looking for just, advice on just being a mom, being a wife, and just some guidance. And so, I found the Peanut app, got on there. I made a couple connections with a couple of different moms, and went on a few friend, mom dates and play dates and stuff. But then Keish came and slid into my DM, and we just clicked instantly. Like we was just texting on there, and then we was like, we gonna take this off the app because these conversations getting a little deep. So we exchanged numbers, and it's just been up ever since. Our families done, our husbands met each other, our kids done met each other, and it's been good.
It sure has. And it's been on and popping, okay? I mean, we did other things like so yeah, what Nish was talking about, we went to a little outing because we was like, you know what? We ain't just be meeting. Let's go home. Let's do something. So I was looking, well, my job was offering, or not even my job was offering. It was just like, let's see what we can do. So then I found out they was doing the circus thing. I was like, you know what, that's a good idea. So Nisha was like, you know what, I think I can get these tickets, a little cheaper. I was like, okay, because I think it was on Groupon I was looking. So she went through that and everything, and we just hit it off from there. So we went up there, had a ball. We looked at the shows and stuff like that, and then after that, her husband invited us back to the crib, with his peeps. I was like, okay, this is kind of as close as family we can get because
it was a vibe, right? Like we went to the circus. Then after the circus, we went back to, like she said, my husband, cousin house, and the kids got to play with each other. We ordered pizza and stuff, and we talked and just chilled, and it was just the whole vibe. The whole night was good.
The whole vibe was good. It was on and popping, and then the kids. Every time we get up with the kids, now we don't went to the mall. We went to the little. What was it? The Bloom.
Oh, the Japanese cherry blossom festival.
Yeah,
we did a couple of things.
Yeah, we did a couple of things, and yeah, it was just on the pop. And the kids like, oh, what we gonna do? What we gonna do? We're like, wait a minute, hold on.
I told you already know my daughter keep calling your daughter's her sister.
Oh, that's so cute. Yeah, that is so cute. And see, that's what I'm talking about. We can win. But yeah, anyways. We just happy y'all here and listening to our little story, and we're gonna talk about next, Niche.
I'm gonna see. So we talked about how we met. Let's talk about how we met our significant others, our spouses.
So yes, so with the spouses, so I met. Oh, I gotta do that.
Yeah, so get to the nitty gritty.
The nitty gritty. We're gonna cut that part up. So anyway, let me pause again. So go ahead and repeat yourself again.
So we're gonna talk about how we met our hubbies. And you go first, Keish.
So I met my husband when I went to college, okay? Because since high school, everybody knew me. I'm walking through hills and all that type of stuff. So I had my heels up, like. So I was walking through campus, just being a little tiny little girl, and caught my husband eye. Well, a guy at the time, and he tried to be all smooth, and yeah, like me. This is where I live at, and we was really living in the same complex. So it's like, and we were living off campus, because we was balling like that. Nah, I just kidding. But we really was living off campus. We pulled out our phone. We was like, oh, what? You got the same phone? That's when Blackberries and everything was on and popping, buttons all on there. You ain't had to flip nothing. So we exchanged numbers, but the first time I went over there, I fell asleep because I was tired. I was young, yes, but I was not the right type that stay up all night. Okay, I fell right to sleep. I think we was watching Martin too. Until this day,
that's the show.
Girl,
that's the show.
That is my
Martin.
Yes. So anyway, we just was communicating, and then he had a car, so he was picking me up and taking me to work because I had my little work study job.
Okay.
But and then after that, like, he graduated a semester before me. I graduated in December. He was in May. So after that, it was around Thanksgiving when I came home, and he met the family and everybody. Everybody was cool with him, and they just clicked, and we went up from there as well. And then we made it official. And then, we was going ice skating and we was going to the movies and out to eat, having fun bowling. Stuff that we still do now with the kids. So, it was nice to have somebody to be like me, just out and about and going. Then, we wound up settling down, having 2 girls, and we still do this to this day, out and about. We go to museums, we do every type of thing. So, that's how I met. And then, then we got married. So, I'm a married woman and all that good stuff. But, so it's been going on 14 years? Yeah.
Okay.
Since we been together. So, How about you, Nesh? Take it away. Let me know how you
Excuse me. So, I met my husband actually on a dating app. I was working overnight at that time. I was like newly single out of an engagement. And I was working overnight, and my coworker was like, download dating apps. And I was like, no, that's for crazy people. Not doing it. And then eventually I just did it because I would be working at night all night and I was bored. So it was just something to do, just to do some general conversation. And just like Keish, he slid into my DM and we just started, conversing. And then before we knew it, we was meeting up, and it was just like an instant like connection between us. So we dated probably like a couple months. I was probably almost a year. I got pregnant like a couple months in, but then I had a miscarriage. So then maybe 6 months later, so almost a year in, then I got pregnant and had our oldest child. So now altogether we have 3 kids. And then after my first son, we got married, and then I had my other 2. And we've been together now. I mean, next year will be our 10-year wedding anniversary. But altogether, it's probably been about the same, about 13, 14 years. Yep.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that works. Okay. And exactly. You got to put the work in order for you to get what you want out.
You so do.
Okay.
Like, marriage is definitely work. Like, you do have your good, your good and your bad, but it's all about the work that you put into it. That determines what you get out of it.
Yeah. So speaking of that, let me tell you a funny story, right? So at the time, we still in high school. Well, no, I was in college. But I had the job before I went to, I think I had the job my freshman year. But I was doing overnight. Yeah, so every time I came home, I had a job, basically. Okay. So I was working with this one girl, and she was like, I was all happy, excited, every time I did my little dance, because then I went to hair school too, and when I used to talk about my husband, I used to be like dancing and stuff. They were like, what? I'm my husband like that, and make you just dance and smile and all that stuff, But anywho, so when I was, at the job, and I was telling her like, he October like me, we exactly 2 weeks apart, and all this type of stuff, could be the same sign. And she was like, you think that's gonna work? I'm like, what you mean? Do I think it's going to work? It's going to work because it doesn't matter what sign you are. It matters of the effort that you put in.
And that's true.
You're going to get out of it. So
that's true.
If they on and popping from day one, because I used to give my husband scenarios. Okay. We were just talking, and I'm giving him scenarios, and I'm like, if this is a good answer at the end of the thing, then we gonna have to see something was going on. But if it ain't,
that part.
Okay, for real. So I'm giving him all these scenarios, and he hitting them off the wall. I'm like, what? Okay, let me see what else is popping in this. So I took a chance or whatever, and now we 14 years in. Yeah, going on.
Okay.
Later in this year, I ain't telling all my damn business, but it is going on 14 years. I'm gonna tell you that.
Okay.
But yeah, it's the work you put in.
Mm-hmm. And like you said, it has to be both parties. Like, it can't just be one person putting in the work. Like, you both have to equally want it too, and both put that work in.
Absolutely, you really do. So one is just doing it, and then you like, what's going on? I'd rather be single than not do anything. Like, and us moms, we're like go-getters. It's like you always doing something. You're always, it's like it's just a no-brainer. You just know what to do, to snap of a finger. And then like men, they gotta learn. They gotta learn how to, you know, go through life with not just caring about them, because it doesn't matter how old that guy is, it's still learning things that they have to do. You have to teach them what you know. They have to figure things out on their own. And sometimes I'm just be straight up honest. Sometimes I got time for to be figuring nothing out. I just know still and just do it. So that's another thing, you know, with motherhood. And the other special thing that mothers have is, you know, knowing your child. Like once you pregnant, you know, you start knowing that child. Like you start feeling kicks, you start, you know, feeling them symptoms, and you have to think about, oh, it's not just you, you're taking care of someone else. And so you might want something as far as the appetite, you won't want what you want. And then when you get it, you're like, no, I don't want this. Because guess what? The baby don't want it.
Exactly.
Now you gotta figure it out, right? And
Exactly.
say, well, okay, you don't want this, you don't like this, because every time I eat this, I'm throwing up. But I'm not going to feed that to you no more. So you gotta figure out what the baby like and just eat that. Now I was one of them crazy moms to be eating all clay and all that detergent. I don't know how they got all those.
That's a real thing.
Yeah,
that's a real thing. Let me tell you, that's a real thing, because with my daughter, I didn't have no weird cravings, but when I was pregnant with my daughter, Dial soap, like the gold Dial soap, I liked the taste of it. Of course, you can't eat it. I would literally just have it in my mouth, like to get that taste in my mouth. It was, and I've never done that before pregnancy, never did it after, but it was something about her. That's what she liked. And you know, they like taking control over us. They like, we just a host. Control everything else. So it's like, yeah. I was like, girl. And I just had to have it. I don't know why. I don't know why. But that's a real thing. Like, you know, eating chalk and like sniffing certain stuff. Like, that stuff is crazy. But it really happens. Like, 'cause I went through it myself. But I do want to circle back to what you said about motherly instinct. I think for us, it comes naturally because we're the ones carrying. Like, you instantly had a connection, that bond to be protective. As soon as you find out you're pregnant, you're like, all right, it's not about me no more. Whereas dads, like, they know, you know, they're pregnant too when we're pregnant, but it's different because they're not feeling those kicks, and it's just a different experience. So for us, we're naturally nurturing, and we can pick up stuff like that. Where dads, it take them a little bit. They need a little coaching sometimes, not always, but yeah. I think it's just more natural for us as women, as mothers, than it is for them.
Right. It is. And you know, they gotta learn it. But then and we're getting into a little deeper in the episode, but I just want to touch on this little teeny beeny sneak peek of a next topic. Somewhere down the line. But you gotta learn and know their background, how they was brought up and things like that, in order to know what things they're going to do, what things they're not going to be able to do, what they're capable of doing, and what they're not capable of doing. So that's something that, you know, you gotta get deep in who you want to be with. Now you can say, oh, you know, nobody can control like who they love. I get that. However, if those qualities ain't there, then it's out. For me, anyway. I can't speak for everybody else, but it should be. You should be looking at those things because they are red flags, some of them, you know, because if you continue to be with someone that is definitely just showing you red flags, you won't have to get out. I don't even care if it's just like one task, you know, or you won't be able and capable of doing this task when we're bringing in these kids, you know, like how are you taking care of yourself? So we're going to talk a little deeper about that, but I'm just giving you those little tidbits to just think about, especially for these young kids. It don't matter what race you are. I'm just saying in general, just young people. You know, you just have to think about that, especially women, you know. It don't matter, like, you know, what you identify as. We're not shaming anybody. I'm just saying, like, you just got to know who you are before you get into these relationships, because you don't want to lose yourself. And that does happen, especially when you become one and you're in the marriage. you do tend to lose yourself. It don't matter how good that man is, how good that woman is. It's a thing. And that's why
Mm-hmm.
we were able to come together with Peanut and be able to, fulfill our dreams. Like we both talked about how we wanted to do a podcast, and we were like, you know what, let's do it
Yeah.
together. Let's figure this
Mm-hmm.
out. We're gonna win
Mm-hmm.
together. Okay. So that's just some things to just keep in mind.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I would say definitely. Because like you said, I was still niche before I met my husband and had my kids. You were still quiche before met your husband and had your kids. So it's like you do lose yourself in the midst of being a mom, being a wife, and everything, all the other hats and capes you gotta wear. You do lose yourself.
Okay.
So I think it's very important to make sure you don't lose yourself completely. Still do things that make you happy and do things for you outside of them. Because if you're not happy with yourself in general, you can't make anybody else happy. Like you got to be happy with yourself, and you can't depend. I feel like you can't depend on your partner to make you happy. You have to come in already whole and happy, and just have them add on to it.
That's 100%. And
Mm-hmm.
regardless of Will Smith, and I always say this like all the time because he taught me when he was having that interview with Jada. He was like, you know what? I told Jada that she is responsible for her own happiness, and I was like, and I
Yeah.
never knew that at that time, like what he meant, because that's what my husband always. He's like, I'm just trying to make you happy. I'm just trying to make you happy, but it's like certain stuff may not make me happy. And it's like, but that's
Right.
what he aims for. But it's like, I have to find my own happiness. And that's what you have to do.
Right.
You have to be individual, but come
Mm-hmm.
together as a whole. Because, like you
Exactly.
said, if you don't know who you are and have your own happiness before you bring it into the family, like, how can you survive that?
Mm-hmm.
Because, first of all,
Yeah,
misery loves
poor
me, and I be damned, okay? If I'm going to
that
be
part.
miserable and negative and not be able to wake up and smile and laugh, because that's something
Mm-hmm.
I love doing, smiling and laughing. So, and that's
Mm-hmm.
why I keep, Martin on the what? Repeat.
Yes, because I call you like Keish, or I text you, Keish, what you doing? Watching Martin. Like, girl, you know every episode, front to back.
Oh, and do. And do, okay? Because what
When,
Coach said, y'all gonna get divorced before y'all get married.
girl.
Of course.
No, but definitely from like you were saying though, like you do have to make yourself happy because you can't pour from an empty cup. Like you have to fill your cup in order to be able to pour the happiness onto your kids, your husband, and just people around you in general, your friends, family, like whoever. But you gotta, do things that make yourself happy, fill your own cup up. That way you're not depleting yourself and you actually have something to give.
Absolutely. And it's still, you know, twinkled down or buckled down to the idea of even when you are pregnant and you have that child in you, that child is feeling
Mm-hmm.
all of those, symptoms and uh,
Mm-hmm.
behaviors or, the way you feel, like you're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
They feel that. So it's the same thing when they hear walking around and they see, they're sponges. So
Right.
what you do, they want to take on those type of roles or those mental states. Like if they hear negativity, they're going to talk negative. If they hear positive, they're going to talk positive. So you
Mm-hmm.
just have to be mindful. And if you don't feel that, as far as especially for the kids, because again, they're innocent. They didn't ask to be here. You can't take your
Exactly.
frustration and stuff out on them just because you mad and miserable. It's not their fault. But the other
Right.
thing is, you gotta surround yourself mentally for the people that you would care about and that you will want in your corner. So
Mm-hmm.
it's it's all about that. You're still a sponge too, because if you
Right.
got negative people, then you're gonna start thinking negative too. But you just have,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just strong willed, so I just feel like nobody can tell me nothing. My
Right.
mom would say that, Keisha, she was this and Keisha was that, because it's like nobody can tell me anything. Like you can't tell me that I'm not a good mom. You can't tell me I'm a good person, because I know who I am. And some people,
Mm-hmm.
they have to get to my part where I know who I am. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's a struggle, It was a struggle for me, growing up and with the negativity, then you start feeling that way, then you feel your self-esteem going down and things like that. But you just got to get back up. And so that's
Mm-hmm.
why, and people ask me like, well, how you get this way? Well, if you go through some things, you will figure it out. You will get to the place that you're able to get to where you're like, you know what? My feelings matter.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm tired of being heartbroken and disappointed. So
Mm-hmm.
it matters. It matters. What if it matters to me? It matters to my little family that I have, especially my kids, because I want to teach them the same thing. I try to be the parent that want them in a bubble. I want to just hit that little the little emoji or the gif that Shaq be doing with the negativity. Just hit it out the way
Mm-hmm.
and all that type of stuff. So I be trying
Mm-hmm.
to block all of those things. But sometimes, and I'm learning that some things I'm not gonna always be there. And I tell my kid like, look, I'm not always gonna be there. So you gotta learn to step up and you know speak and talk and
Mm-hmm.
take these tools that I'm embracing to give to you, for you to be your best self. I know you're not gonna
Mm-hmm.
be perfect in everything, but I just want you to be able to stand up for yourself. But I also want to be able to be like, you know what? That's my girl. She can handle herself. Which I know they
Right.
can. They still learn. They're only 7 to 10, so
Right.
that's some parenting tools that I'm giving to them. Like, be strong like mommy. Don't let no man tell you this. Don't let no man tell you that. Don't let no man run you, girl. Like, speak up.
I'm about to say exactly because you have daughters. Like with me, I do have one daughter, but I have, two sons also. And so like for
Right.
me, just to piggyback off of you said, like I definitely want them to be able to stand up for themselves. I want them to have discernment and to be able to tell like who's in their corner, who's for them and who's not. And be okay if people aren't in your corner. Like be able to accept that everyone isn't for you and just know who you are, like you said. Like know yourself. That way you don't have to worry about who likes you, who's in your corner and who's not. You know how to move. So I definitely want them to be strong, like you said, have discernment, be able to stand up for themselves. And like you said, we're not going to always be able to be there for our kids. So we want to be able to be confident, like, I know they can handle themselves if I'm not around.
Absolutely. And that's one thing that I'm trying to, just inform and tell my kids, like, yeah, you can do this, and
Mm-hmm.
just change this whole crazy dynamic that, back in the day and what they did. And look, it ain't that no more, okay?
It sure ain't.
Sorry for your trauma, but it ain't that, so, you just gotta, change the dynamic, change the way you think, change the way you parent in order to raise healthy mental children.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm. Because I mean, I would say, there's so many adults out here that's still kids mentally. Like they still have traumas that they're dealing with from their childhood that they haven't dealt with, and now they're adults still trying to deal with that. And then it rubs off on their relationships, any kind of relationship, whether it's between them and their significant other, or them and their children, them and their family. Like it all plays a part in how people act, or in how they raise their own families. So I think it's important, like, because we realize that,
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that our kids are healthy mentally as they get older, so that
Right.
way they're not dealing with childhood traumas like that we may have, or our husbands or whoever may have dealt with. We're
Girl,
trying to,
you
like,
know they messed this up.
break that cycle.
Yes, breaking the cycle.
Yeah.
And we're gonna name one of our episodes called Breaking the Cycle, because we want to talk deep into these situations, because I think this is
Hmm.
very important, especially I think June too is mental health month. So be
Okay.
okay,
Okay.
yeah. Got the little
Let's
notification. I
see.
was like, okay. But I've been already doing mental
Me
health,
too.
trying to get myself together. And because, and I truly hate bringing like, oh, COVID did this and COVID did that, but it did. I do have to face the reality that COVID did mess up a lot of, I say family shit, because I didn't really have too many friends in the first place. So listen, I mean, I don't look. They become associates before they become friendships, okay? Because you gotta start trying these people out, and if they're not worth your time, or they not giving you the same amount of time that you putting in the work, it's the same thing as a relationship. Then they gonna be
It's true.
you know.
That's true.
Because I found myself like always reaching out and hey, what you doing? This and that third, and nobody will reach out to me like, listen, okay.
Right.
What
It's a
do
two-way
you
street.
expect? Yeah, what do you expect? So anyway, back to the COVID situation, because I can get into that too. But um but yeah, so like with COVID, it took away from that social life. They wanted us to be in a box. They wanted us to not go see your extended family from who you living with. And
Right.
it just put icings on the cake for me, because it was just like holding on to shreds, and it was like, okay, so what do you want? What do you need? And it wasn't like that in the first place. Like, what do you want? What do you need? I could be there for you, and this and that and the third. It was always, I want this, I want that. And it's like, well, damn. Then you got other ones that messes up for you because they don't want to put in the same amount of energy they did with someone else because they feel some type of way. Okay, we'll talk with that person.
Right.
Instead of putting everybody in that same box. Anywho, so like I said, COVID messed everything up with social and being, being able to chill with people and things like that. So I was still going out, me and my girls and husband was still riding bikes and, on that 6 feet. I'm glad COVID happened, to be honest, because all them damn lines, okay? Back up. Why's you all breathing on my neck?
Right, like some positive stuff came out of it. Definitely. Like, yeah. Give me 6 feet. I need my personal space.
Yeah, a mask had you smelling your own breath. You know your breath was smelling from
that part.
That part. Okay. You just act like you ain't want to be smelling this. So now you gotta wear a mask, so you ain't got nothing but to do but smell. Then you're like, oh damn, I gotta do something about this.
Listen, I was okay with being in the house and not really having to go nowhere. I'm naturally an introvert. Like, even me doing this is like stepping out of my comfort zone. I can say that for me. But it was like, so I was okay with being in the house and not have to go out and do anything. Cause I was like, all right, I'm just me and my little family. We doing our own little thing. But then, like, once everything started opening back up, I was like, okay, I need to go out and be social butterfly again. Yeah. But it's still 6 feet. Still 6 feet. And I'm just like,
Well, me, I was like 20 feet, okay? Back up. But I was like, so I am, what is it, extrovert or whatever? I can't even say the word, but anyway, I'm
you're an extrovert. Like, you're outgoing and
extra. Say that. But yeah. There's
nothing wrong with it.
And but I used to be introvert, being to myself and stuff like that. And so I'm like, you know what, for what? Like, now I'll be like, come on, let's go somewhere, let's do this, let's do that, because I like doing my little party. Now I ain't saying I'll be going to the club hopping and this and that and third, but a little lounge every now and then with some Chris Brown popping on the Sierra, okay? That's they my two my peeps, and aside from the star Janet and all along with her her thing going on, because that's what I grew up on, and I used to always just watch the episodes and be the choreographer, trying to learn these steps and stuff like that. And I'm still doing that to this day. So look, I love dancing, so that's just me. But yeah, so like COVID made me be an introvert too, because I'm like, okay, I got used to that. But then I'm like, well, I can't get used to this because I have kids, so they have to go out and be social. Like when we were growing up, and this world is crazy, so it's not like when we were growing up. But I'm just using this as an example because we could just go outside and go to the park, and my mom would know like where we at and what we doing. We know when to come home. Now it's like you don't know who out there. You know what I'm saying? Like, this world is crazy. And for me, being the parent that I am, I'm the parent that I am because I ain't had a parent that I am. Okay? I'm gonna just straight
and that's a part of breaking those generational, that childhood trauma and breaking them curses.
Yes.
It definitely plays a part.
And some people are not the parent that I am, and that's okay. But at that point, you're not going to be in my circle. because I value my kids too much to be bringing that negative. To me, that's negative energy, to be honest. Because
Right.
like, if I'm gonna hang out with you and you ain't treating your kids right, or you not taking care of your kids properly, like, I can't have that. So, no thanks. No thanks. Because that's part of my
I definitely
values.
agree with that. I definitely agree with that. And that comes a part of your self-care too, because you got to be able to know who you need to have in your circle and who you can dismiss from your circle to keep your peace. And I think that's more so why I'm more of an introvert. I think for me, it's more about protecting my peace. And just like, because I'm an empath too, so I can pick up energy, and like I can instantly like tell if energy is off. I might not say anything, but I'm always going to notice, and I'm always going to pick up on it. So
You ain't said nothing
yeah, so
but a word, okay? Because you
yeah,
do
so for me, I think me being an introvert is me protecting my peace, and it's like I'll observe you and fill you out first before I decide if I want to really like get to know you and stuff. And if I don't, then I'll just go about my business.
Exactly.
But for me, it's just protecting my peace.
That is exactly how I am. And you be trying to warn people, but they be just like, you know what, whatever. Then they ask you for your opinion. Then you tell them that they still like, yeah, whatever. So you know what I do? Don't say anything. Do you, boo? And I'm pushing. Because I'm not about to be telling you something and then you go and do X, Y, and Z. Well, what was the point? You just had me with my goddamn breath. Like, we ain't doing that. So,
well, see, usually when it comes to that, I'll be like, do you want an ear? Like, you want me to just listen? Or do you actually want a solution? Like, let me know what you want before you even start telling me what it is you're going to tell me. That way I know what I'm doing. Because if you want a solution, I'm going to give you one. But if you don't listen to it, then we're going to have an issue because you asked for my solution.
Yeah, and that's the problem. They will come to me and ask me, then I tell them, then they got a problem with it. But
like, if you just want to vent and you want me to listen, I could do that.
Yeah, I don't know about all that because I'm working on it.
I mean, listen, it takes a friend to be a friend. So I'm like, if you need to vent, yeah.
Yeah, you're right about that because listen, I don't know. I'll be putting my 2 cents, making 4 cents, whatever, how many cents you want it because I'm gonna look at what you want me to do. Like, okay, I'll listen to you, but what are you wanting out of this listening? Do you want an honest opinion, or you just want me to listen so you can vent?
Exactly. That's why I always ask. Like, let me know what you want out of this conversation before we even start. That way I know what I'm doing.
Right. Because I'm going to just keep it 100. And first of all, I keep it 100 because, first of all, I love honesty. I love loyalty. You know, those two things go hand in hand. I love the respect. You got respect for me. I got respect for you. You know what I mean? Like, it just go like that. And, if I'm walking down the street with a boogie in my nose or something, like, girl, let me know. Don't be
let me know. Don't let me walk around like that.
Okay.
Like, don't let me walk around like that. Let me know something.
Close leave boogies in the eye. Like, girl, fix your eyes. What?
Right.
Dude, I'll be like, now I'm going back to Martin because when I think Martin mom, Miss Payne or whatever, she was like, hurry at me at my wig going looking crazy. Or was it Cole Mom? It was Cole Mom. Cause she's like, you up there trying to go up in this club, you up there thinking you cute, you still got the damn tag on it.
Oh yeah, when they was on their way to the club in the car.
And Cole, that's why I was thinking about Cole because it was Cole Mom too, but also he was the driver. That's what
he was the driver
when they won that car. But yeah, but y'all see, I love Martin, so I always gotta relate because like when you grow up on that type of stuff, you think it's funny until you actually become an adult and you're like, oh, I know what he mean by that, like, and then it become extra funny. So yeah, that's why shout out to Martin Lawrence.
Yes, because he raised us. That was my childhood too.
Yes. So yeah, but anyways, so what we're going to talk about now, since we got all that craziness off it's not craziness, it's like life stories, it's like life experience, it's like tools, it's a lot. But when you become an adult, you start to look at things and see things from different point of views, and even
okay, I'm about to say, now you even talking about watching it as a kid and then looking at it differently as you get older, it just reminded me of songs. Like I know there's songs that you listen to as a kid, and then once you grew up and you was like, "This what they talk about?" You be listening to a song and like, like this what I was singing as a kid,
right? And too, I was talking. I be talking to my brother all the time, and but I'm like, all the stuff like those commercials, they have all about us showing too much. You be like, hold on, let me turn this channel real quick. It's like watching a rated R movie because you're not yet ready to like you say, you got sons. You don't want them to know about a woman, what they got going on, and then they talking about menopause. Like I ain't even old enough for menopause, but I mean we gotta learn about it. But the diapers and all of that, like, listen, I don't need to know all that. I just want my kids to be kids. And that's why I also limit like the time. There's like when I tell you I'm a different type of mom, I am a different type of mom. Like this stuff and the stuff I know that goes on in the internet, and this like the internet is controlling these kids, and they're sponges. When I tell you kids are sponges, they are that. They're sponges because they're, how sponges absorb all that water and hold it all in. That's exactly what kids do, and they just do. I'm not saying they are because they're not. They just absorb all the information they get, and they figure out where they want to store it, if they even want to store it. But they start at a young age. Like if a kid is a baby, you start speaking Spanish, okay? They can pick up what that means. That's how. Yes, that is how much they are sponges. So I limit that stuff. My daughter got a phone. I limit what she can access. I tell her, you don't have no YouTube channel yet, girl. So, you got to stop all. Don't do no videos. Like, I'm just now letting her, video chat her friends. And I'm like, you know what? You can do that. You know what I'm saying? Because that's part of your social life. You want to be able to see each other and talk just like me and you doing, But, all that other crazy stuff, even with the cartoons they got on there, they got them doing inappropriate things. So, yeah, we're not doing that. So yeah, I still watch kids movies. I be introducing them like the Lion King, Aladdin, stuff we grew up on. Because what's wrong? Because
exactly. I mean, I know I'm gonna touch a little bit on it, but it's gonna be on one of our future episodes. But just parenting, back in the day versus today, like we were Disney kids. Like we grew up on Disney, we grew up on Nickelodeon. Like we actually sat and watched movies. We had no choice. There was no internet. There was no tablets and phones and stuff. So it's like our kids these days, they like, we got to introduce them into stuff that, came natural to us as kids because they got electronics now. That's their focus. So it's like, then you got to take it back old school.
They don't even know about no flip phone, girl. When I went to college, okay, my first phone was a flip.
Please. Now, my son, he's 10 too, but he doesn't, well, he has had a phone before, but he ended up messing it up. He doesn't have a phone right now. He does have like a little tablet, and I still try to monitor what they're looking at and watching on there because it's so easy for them to find stuff they're not supposed to find.
Absolutely.
And then it don't even have to be your kids. Like it could be other parents' kids who aren't watching what their kids doing, and they're watching stuff and they're coming to school and whatever, and then they're still teaching your kids stuff that you don't want them to know. It's like, it's hard to kind of escape it.
It is. It really is. And then, okay, going back to COVID, because they also introduced YouTube. Like my kids didn't know about no YouTube. I mean, I played music. They didn't know where it was coming from.
Right.
But playing on YouTube and finding those, I don't know, sing-alongs and stuff like that. We didn't have that stuff when we was growing up. We didn't have no smart board and all that. Listen, it was
our sing-alongs was on VHS with the little words beating across the bottom. That was our sing-along.
Okay. And they brought the damn thing in there. Now we did have a little, and listen, we didn't even have smart TVs, okay?
Exactly.
Box TVs that look like, I don't know, but with the VH1, and we used to had them rolling around the classroom, pushing that button. But it's like they introduced those things, to our kids, and now we had to like correct that, Still mad about that.
Because even with COVID, like you said, even with COVID, they came home with laptops because they was getting homeschooled. So if you wasn't watching your child, then they on the laptop on YouTube or doing something else outside of schoolwork after school or even during school.
Mm-hmm. And they still,
So,
the teachers don't even know what's going on. But
mm-hmm,
luckily, my kids, who, they know how to pick their friends. Let me just tell you that. Because when I went to my kids' honor roll little assemblies they had,
mm-hmm,
those kids that they were friends with, that I heard their names, they had honor roll too. So at least they know who to hang around with. And that goes
mm-hmm,
to, again, like people say that I'm hard on my kids, but guess what? Those grades going to pay off in the long run,
mm-hmm,
because it's going to get harder, and they're going to get smarter.
exactly.
And
Mm-hmm,
they're going to be able to use their words and ask for help if they need it, and not be afraid, because
mm-hmm,
there's no dumb answers. And if you don't get it, you just don't get it.
mm-hmm.
So, and I push my kids. I introduce like stuff that I know they're going to get next year, and my daughter will come back and be like, "Mom, guess what we doing?"
Kick my mic.
And I be like, "I know, girl. I told you." So, but yeah, we will definitely talk back on another episode with tools and stuff that we want our kids,
Mm-hmm,
and breaking the cycle. Like I said, we're gonna name that breaking the cycle, and we're gonna get deep in it.
mm-hmm.
But we're going to shift. You got anything else to say about that, Niche? Before we shift to
Nope, I'm
another
about to say
topic?
you pretty much, yep, you touched that perfectly. Um, yeah, you said that perfectly. I mean, like I said, it's hard to have that just, I think like you said, it comes back to just your parenting when it comes to your kids. Cause like you said, your kids know who to hang out with, who to be friends with because of what they're being taught at home and how you are. So it does rub off on your kids.
Well,
I
thanks.
definitely
That's a
agree
little
with that.
compliment. I appreciate it, girl. You know.
Mm. But then, but at the same time, we gotta be honest with them too. Like I try not to sugarcoat anything with them about life in general because it's like I don't want y'all to have blinders on, and then you get out in the real world and it's like, what do I do now? How do I handle
Okay.
this? How do I handle that? Like I want y'all to know what's going on too, so y'all can know how to handle things.
Absolutely. And because, first of all, we should be their first listening ear. Okay. My
Right.
daughters come to me and they tell me something, it's gonna stay between me and my daughter. And if she
Mm-hmm.
decides to let daddy know, then I'm encouraging her to tell her dad, not for me
Mm-hmm.
speaking for her. Because again, that's part of a tool that I'm teaching her to stand up for herself, speak for herself. Don't let nobody speak for you. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you think about it, if somebody continues to speak for you, they're gonna say the wrong stuff. They may get you in trouble. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? So no, speak up,
Mm-hmm.
say what's on your mind, and keep it pushing. And that goes into our next topic, which is called what you value. What are some of your values and why?
I mean, I guess that kind of goes back to like what we were saying, like, we want, values, being strong, having that discernment, being able to, know who's for you and who's not for you. Like I mean, I feel like that plays into your values as, a mom or even as a person in general. Like the things that you value or the things that, you take to heart, you instill that into your children. I mean, they're still their own person at the end of the day and they're still going to go their own path, but you can still give them some tools to start with.
Absolutely. And yeah, so I do value family. I always tell them,
Mm-hmm.
family first.
Mm-hmm.
Family over. I was gonna say, like they say, bros over hoes. But
Well,
well, you're right. We don't have no little scenario with that. But well, blood is thicker than water. I can tell you that. We can see that. But at the end of the
mhm,
day, family first.
mhm,
I told my kids, I said, listen, I don't care if you like 81 and I'm still living. We having family time, okay? We're gonna
mhm,
be there Sunday dinners or what
mhm,
have you, okay? And get somebody who loves you for you. You don't change for nobody. You don't answer to
mhm,
nobody. You're your own person, and that goes for
mhm,
in these crazy relationships. But anyway, we already talked a little bit about that. But back to the family values, but like family first, loyalty, respect. Um,
mhm,
even with them being 7 and 10, I want them to be respectful of each other's feelings. I want them to be respectful as far as their just even playing. Like, you know how siblings, they play and they may say nasty, hurtful things, but I don't want that. That's it comes from being not mature but respectful. And
Mm-hmm.
again, with the speaking up, like, well, I feel this way because X, Y, and Z, because you did this.
Mm-hmm.
Before they even go into a fight, because those things can occur and become worse, as they get older. So I know kids bicker back and
Mm-hmm.
forth, but I don't like it. So I
Okay.
do it so much where I'm like, okay, this is not healthy. This is not what I want. So, figure it out in a more healthy way. And you can start low, I mean, low meaning young age,
Mm-hmm.
to build those things up. So, like, when you are in these tough situations, you know how to handle it. Like you said, Niche, you know how to handle it in a healthy way. You don't want
Mm-hmm.
firecrackers and then they go on a job and be cussing the boss out and be like, blah, 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 blah. Like,
Mm-hmm.
no, you need this job because you got bills, but you want to speak up for yourself and don't let anybody walk over you. And you want to let them
Right.
know what's going on. So, but yeah, that's my
And I
opinion.
feel like too, I about to say, and I feel like too with values, like you said, standing up for yourself. And I just lost my train of thought, but I was about to say something going back to the values. But yeah, definitely like standing up for yourself and just like knowing your battles. Like I want them to have like I guess emotional intelligence, if
Yes.
that makes sense. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to always just act off your emotions. I want you to be able to think about stuff. Like think about the consequences of your actions before
Yes.
you just jump out there. Like I want them to have that. Don't just jump, just don't because you're mad, you just whatever or or excited, you just, go off and do whatever. Like really think about the things that you do and how it affects you and the people around you. Because a
Absolutely.
lot of times actions don't just affect you. Even if you don't have no kids or nothing, it still could affect your parents, your
Absolutely.
siblings, your friends. Like it's still your actions still going to affect someone outside of yourself. So just always think about that. That's like one of the values I want them to have. Think
Absolutely. And
action.
I'm teaching mine
Think
the
about your
same thing.
action.
Because everybody got triggers,
Right. Right.
And I'm gonna tell you straight up, I'm a firecracker. I'm like, no, this, and that, But having these little people, I call my children because they are little people. They are humans at the end of the day, and everybody needs
Hmm.
respect. It doesn't matter the age. You know how
Exactly.
we grew up, oh, respect your elders and this and that and the third. But it's like, no, you have to respect me too. And I was the type,
Hmm.
I was the problem child because I didn't let people talk to me any type of way. And I still don't. And I still don't. I don't
Right.
even let my kids get talked to any type of way. I'm like, they tell me something, I'm at that school the next day, like, no, you're not gonna be doing this. Like,
Hmm.
these are mine. So
Hmm.
yeah, I am a firecrackers, but they do, and they're teaching me too. Like, mom, like you said, think before you speak. Like, cool off. Like, had that 5 minute break, and that's what I do with my daughter. First of all, we got a lot of estrogen going on. Okay, I'm gonna just take it straight up
Yeah.
because I have no
Yeah.
sons,
Right. I'm
so
about to say yeah.
it's a lot. But at the end of the day, I'm mom. And like I said, I want my daughters to be I want to be the first contact that they talk to. The first person, I want them to feel comfortable enough to me, be like anything and everything that they want to come and just talk. You know,
Right.
again, going back to changing the dynamics because I didn't have that. I couldn't go to, my mom or anybody in the family. You thought you could because they probably played trick
Hmm.
games on you because at the end of the day, somebody gonna tell you something, and you be like, "Well, how the hell you know that?" Because so
Right.
and so
Right.
told me. So, well, where's the trust? And that's a big thing right there, trust. Because without trust, you don't have anything. The trust come
That's true.
before loyalty. Trust come before
Hmm.
respect. Trust is up there. Like that's like number one key because it has to be there in order for you to have something. In order for you to build something. So, yeah,
Hmm. And it's the easiest thing to lose and the hardest thing to get back.
absolutely,
Hmm. So yeah, I definitely that is a definitely high value on my list. Trust and like you said, and loyalty too. Because like you said, family above everything. I want my kids to. I want them to always be close.
Yes.
And like you said, family dinners, and we still do family activities even when they're grown. Like I just want them to always feel loved and feel at home when they're around, me and their dad.
Girl, yes. I love that. I always
Mm-hmm.
talking about my kids like, listen, like, and I always ask them too, like, when you grow up, you still gonna come home? They be like, yes, mom. I be like, yes, because that's what I want. Like, I don't want to be old and like. First of all, look, okay, I'm not saying I'm gonna be old and single. Yeah, I got a husband, but my kids matter, and people don't understand that your kids should come before your spouse because they didn't ask to be here. And not only
That's
that,
true.
you never know what can happen between you and that spouse.
Mm-hmm.
So your
Mm-hmm.
kids always supposed to come before that spouse. Like my kids come before
Mm-hmm.
me wouldn't in my husband's eyes. My kids come before him in my eyes. So they are there. Because
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, anything can happen.
Right.
Kids need to know that they come first. Like you riding down with them no matter what. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm
And I really stand by that because I've always said that too. Like, I have, two bonus children. I have a bonus son and a bonus daughter. So I've always, stressed to my husband, like, no matter what happens between me and you make sure you continue your bond with them. Because I could be going today or tomorrow, but those are always going to be your kids. So it's like, definitely always try to maintain a bond or a connection. And even with our kids together, same thing. Like I said, me and him can break up today or tomorrow, get a divorce or whatever, but the kids, that's the most important. Like those kids, they will always be your kids, even if I'm not always your wife. You know what I mean? Like, so definitely, that's why I understand it. Like the kids definitely do come first.
hell yeah. And ain't no
Mm-hmm.
ands, if buts, anything about it because that's just how it is. And if you don't like it, then listen. Like you said,
Mm-hmm.
anything can happen, but continue
Mm-hmm.
that bond because again, it's not their fault. It's not their issue. It's nothing that
Mm-hmm.
their problem between, mom and dad.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
you got to think about it too. Like, who is it going to bother? Who's going to get hurt in all of this? We might be fine. You know,
Exactly.
we might be fine, but the kids are the ones that's going to hurt the most. So either figure it
Mm-hmm.
out, get your shit together, and you know what I'm saying, and make it work, or be done with it. But don't use that as okay. I'm not with your mom. I'm not with your dad, so I don't have nothing to do. Like no, you still have to
Exactly.
do stuff. You still have to have those
Mm-hmm.
bonds, and that's what's wrong with most of these deadbeats out there. They want to blame the kids for what? What you blame the kids for? They ain't got nothing to do with that. Just because you want to be acting
Mm-hmm.
crazy, either one. And
Right, because it could be either side. But like you said, at the end of the day, the kids, none of them asked to be put in this, whatever the situation is, none of them asked to be here or be put in that situation. So at the end of the day, it's still about the kids
that's it.
and about making sure that they're good no matter what the situation is.
Periods. Okay, with a T at the end.
That part.
So, so yeah, so what we're going to do, I think we're going to end this episode. But thank y'all for tuning in. We have more
Yeah.
to come. We finished our first episode. Yeah. And I hope y'all learned a lot. Because we are putting our life experience out here. We're not sugarcoat anything like Nesh said. And I definitely don't sugarcoat when
Mm-mm.
it comes to my kids. I tell them straight up what's going on. Um, and I even just to touch a little bit, like my grandma was like, you told them that? Like, yeah. Like, so let me just tell you real quick. So I was talking and I was saying like, you know how kids be running around the store and this and that and the third. And I'm like, girl, like, stay with me. Or, people crazy these days. They just be snatching
Mm-mm.
people up. So, and I was like,
Mm-mm.
you don't want to go with another family, do you? And so my grandma was like, you told them that? And I was like, yeah, like, that's the truth.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen if they get took.
Yeah, like, that's
Like,
the
yeah.
truth. Like, I don't sugarcoat anything. So, we just blunt, being honest, okay? And, yeah, we just doing a damn thing. So, you got anything else to say, Nesh?
And I'm gonna say, just like you said, going back to when you said, like, your daughters, they're little people. Like you said, the kids are little people, and they know so much more than what you think and take in so much more. Like, they're watching you, they can see your emotions, they can sense things too. And so that's why it's best not to sugarcoat, because they already get those feelings. They can see they're not dumb. They're people just like we are. They have brains just like, and think like we do. So it's
Absolutely.
like, definitely, be 100 with them. If you sad, if you angry about something, talk about it with them, explain things to them, and let them be in the know, so they know it's okay to be angry, it's okay to be upset about certain things. But look how mom handled it, even though she was
Yeah.
upset, or whatever. They get to see an example instead of me just talking about it. I'm showing them.
Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
try to be really transparent with them as far as the why you can't do this and why you can't do that. Because I'm gonna tell you, my daughter, she goes,
Mm-hmm.
well, why, mom? Why I can't do this? Why I can't do that? And if I explain, she gets it better. And I told her, I
Okay.
said, listen, y'all the only two people I'm gonna ever explain myself to, so don't take it lightly. And that's the honest to God truth. Like I don't have the time and the patience to be explaining myself to grown ass people, just straight up.
Right.
Because
Right.
you grown enough to put it out there, and then you don't want to, you don't want to take it when you dishing it out. You don't know how to take it.
Mm-hmm.
That's your problem. That's not my problem. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
explaining it. You did, and plus, I don't try to give people that window where they can do stuff to me. That comes with growth.
And that's part of me being an introvert, like
Yeah.
just keeping that shut, keeping that wall up, and just giving you. I'll
Girl,
give you a little bit. I'll reel it on out a little
I
bit to see
always
what you
got my
do.
wall up. I do. And yeah, I'm not going to just come out there just like, oh yeah, let's go. No. I got boundaries.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I got boundaries, and you're going to respect these boundaries or you're not going to be near me.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, again, it's about my peace.
Okay?
That's it.
Shoot,
That's it.
my peace.
So listen,
Like
exactly.
it.
So
Peace out.
deuces. Right. So on that note, we're going to end this first episode.
Woo, woo.
And I just want to give you a snippet of what next episode is going to be about. So
Okay.
episode 2 is basically all about us, the moms. It's going to be about how hard it is being a mom, because it's definitely a job.
Mm,
We're going to talk about the past generation mothering versus our mothering today, because
mm.
there's definitely a difference.
It is.
knowing knowing what to prioritize, yourself, your kids, your husband, whatever. Losing yourself as a mother and a wife, because we talked a little bit about that, but we're going to go more into it next episode.
Okay.
Okay, balancing all the roles that women have, because we wear many hats and capes.
Do a little bounce.
Okay. And then going back to self-care, we're going to talk about what makes us feel happy, what makes us feel appreciated,
Mm,
and how important our me time is.
yes.
Me time, also how important, partner time is too, because we do still have to be a wife at the end of the
Oh,
day, outside of being a mother.
mm,
So how important that is. And then, just to remind y'all that we are going to have, a Q&A, like, with Lifin with Keish and Nesh, where you can access any questions that you may want to get some advice on. And again, it could be anonymous, or you could put your name out there if you want. And again, for those, it's Lifin with Keish and Nesh at outlook.com and Lifin with Keish and Nesh at gmail.com. And then on top of that, follow our socials. We have the Instagram, Lifin with Keish and Nesh, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. So definitely hit us up. And again, this is our first episode that we made it through. Yay, us.
hey. Snappy snap.
And it's the first of many. So definitely subscribe, vibe with us and give your opinions. Like, this is a community. So we value your opinions. Again, keep it positive, keep it cute. Agree to disagree if you don't agree with certain things that we may touch on. And that's fine, because everybody's different.
Yeah.
But that's what we're here for.
We're open.
To value everybody else's opinion.
We open. We just, like I said in the beginning, just keep it cute and classy. And
Exactly.
Nesh said that part, but I said, listen, positivity and be respectful. We, like we said, everybody's not going to agree, everybody's not going to disagree, but just be respectful. That's all we ask. Like, people are people.
Respect everybody's opinions.
Mm-hmm.
So on that note, Yep, we going peace out,
Peace
and we'll see you
out.
next time.
Peace
Yep, on Life and
out.
with Keish and Nesh.
See
Deuces.
y'all.